Thank you for watching a special episode of On Second Thought. This is Adam Wagner, the director. We're going to ask courtroom observers of the Michael Jackson trial to tell us what they think about the case. Is Tom Schneiden a malicious prosecutor? Will any justice be done in this case? Is Michael Jackson completely innocent? Is Michael Jackson in a kangaroo court? Michael Jackson fans, speak out.
More than 200 years ago, Americans fought a revolution against big government.
He has erected a multitude of new offices and has sent hither swarms of officials to harass our people and eat out their substance.
George III and his bureaucrats taxed and controlled their lives until the people said, enough.
Welcome to On Second Thought, where William Wagner gives you information that ought to give you second thoughts about the unconstitutional acts of our local, state, and federal government. I am Megan Wells. Now, producer and host of On Second Thought, the good guy in the white hat, William Wagner.
Welcome. Thank you, Megan, for that great introduction. I'm William Wagner, host and producer of On Second Thought, where I try to give you second thoughts about what you think you know is true. Taking off my white hat, I want to introduce my first guest, who was in the courtroom of Michael Jackson's trial in Santa Maria, California, where we're taping this show today. Ian, welcome to On Second Thought.
Thank you.
Ian, you were in a week ago from this past Wednesday.
Yes, I was.
Were you in all day in the courtroom?
Yes, I was.
Did you have to get up early in the morning to get in there?
Yeah, you had to be there between 6:30.
Was that fun?
Not really.
So that court makes it pretty hard for the public to even get in there to watch Michael's trial, don't they?
Yes.
Where the press can walk in at 8, but you
Right.
got to be down there to get a little yellow badge, right?
Yes.
What did you observe the day you were in court?
When I was in the court, it was the district attorney, Tom Schneiden, and he was like putting stuff like on. He was confused with examinations of.
He was getting confused.
Yes, yes, he was.
At the end of the day, would you say the defense won that day that you watched?
Yes, the defense was very strong.
The defense came out looking good.
Yes,
didn't
yes, it was.
They pretty much chopped up the prosecution.
Yes.
Did you see that reported that night on the major news?
Yes, I did, and it was like not even active, some of it.
So you're saying the major news didn't quite get it right?
Yeah, they didn't get it right.
They made it look like maybe the prosecution was winning.
Yes.
But you as an observer,
Yes.
you came away with the impression Michael Jackson's defense was winning.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, that's Ian. A minute of the scene at the trial of Michael Jackson in Santa Maria, California, an all-American city. Welcome. That was an opening from 9 years ago, roughly, give or take a few months, when Michael J. Jackson was still alive and he was winning his case against the evidence fabricating Tom Snake Snedden, our elected prosecutor. He should be elected to prison because he committed felonies by creating evidence and getting this lying family of grifters to lie just so. But Tom Mesereau, I call him Thomas Hurricane Mesereau, blew all the crap away, and there was the truth. Michael Jackson, 100% innocent of 10 felonies and 4 lesser included misdemeanors underneath. Since that time, back in 2005, and that opening was a clip when I was interviewing Michael Jackson fans right here in the studio, just blocks from the courthouse in Santa Maria, to get their impressions. I had already seen enough by the time we shot that show to be convinced they had set Michael up to be found guilty no matter how innocent he was. The problem was they didn't have one of those local lawyers that like to get along with the prosecutors, snort cocaine with judges, you know, and that sort of thing. Yes, this county had a cocaine snorting judge on the bench, and he's a practicing attorney again here in Santa Maria 20 years later. Yes, Michael, I gave you a little tip there. So this is the kind of environment Michael Jackson came into, not knowing that the Ku Klux Klan marched right down South Broadway here just a few decades ago, maybe even a decade before he was born, marching in their full white sheet regalia. And we're not going to bring up those pictures. I know it makes all the local people very queasy when I mention these little things, but it'll be in my book. But I'm not here to talk about my book. Since that time, Michael, on June 25th, 2009, has left the grand stage of life and is not going to be doing any concerts on this reality of this plane anymore. But with me tonight is the daughter of one of the workers that worked at Neverland, and she's got a book coming out. I want to welcome, if you would please, welcome Lisa Brisse. Hello, Lisa. Hello. Thank you. Good to have you here. And this is the image of the book as it's going to appear?
Yes, that is the book cover.
And it's called what?
Michael Jackson, The Man in Our Mirror, a reflection of our collective soul.
Can we bring that CG up? There it is. There's a close-up. And this book is expected to come out. It's already written. It's in the layout stages now?
It's in the final editing stages, and hopefully we'll have it formatted by the end of July and maybe out by August. Cross the fingers.
Cross your fingers. It will be out. Now, why did you write this book? Why is it different from Aphrodite Jones' book called Michael Jackson, The Conspiracy, or all these other books people have written? What's unique about your book?
Well, number one, it's a personal memoir of what my journey has been with Michael, which started way back in the 80s. I was growing up in a small town in the Midwest, Minnesota, and I was a fan like Michael, like everybody else was at that time, and I started getting strong feelings that Michael was going to come into our family's life at that time. Now, when you're in a small town in the Midwest and he's, you know, the world's greatest superstar out there, and you're starting to get these feelings, you start to think, I know I'm not crazy, but these are strong feelings that keep coming to me. And I kind of suppressed them until it got so strong that I had to tell somebody. And I ended up telling my mom, because I knew she was the only one that would probably believe that I wasn't totally out there.
And you and your mom are still living in the Midwest?
In the Midwest at this time. This was back in 1987.
And how did your mom take this revelation?
Well, my mom, who has always been open to other realms and, you know, everything in life, not just what we see here, she said, I guess we'll see.
Really? We'll see.
She did. And what began after that is what I call in the book, the Michael miracles, which are these illogical, unexplainable, synchronistic events, one thing that led to another, that fast forward 5 years down the road, we were living here in the San Ynez Valley, and my mom ended up working for him at Neverland as one of his housekeepers.
And you were how old when she went to work there?
At that time, let's see, she went in 1993. I was 24.
24.
Yes. So the first part of the book is called From Minnesota to Michael, and it's the chapters of all these Michael miracles, these synchronicities that happened that eventually led to the improbable possibility of her working at Neverland. And just to give you one of the things that happened, after I had told her this back in Minnesota, it wasn't long after that my mom had went to visit a friend in Sedona, and while she was there, she saw a psychic. And when she came back home after that trip, she came into my room one night and she had a cassette tape, and she said, "I need you to listen to part of this tape." And she fast forwarded to the point in the session where this woman said to her, who doesn't know my mom from anywhere, she says to my mom, "You have a daughter that you are very close to." And my mom said, "Yes." And she said, "You two were sisters in a past life." And I'm sitting here at the age of 18 listening to this tape, and I'm like, okay, I'm open-minded, but all right, so I'm listening. And she says, continues on, and she says, "And it was during the Renaissance time." And she says, and she's closing her eyes, and she says, "And you knew another soul at that time." And she says, "I keep getting the image of Michael Jackson. Does that mean anything to you?" And this is just a few weeks after I had just told my mom, "I don't know what it is, but I get a really strong feeling he's coming into our life." And my mom said, "Well, my daughter just told me that she feels a familiarity with him and that he's going to come into our life one day." And the woman said, "Yes, he was a prince of a royal family back in the Renaissance, and you were a part of his circle at that time."
And this is in your book?
Yes.
In the first part of your book?
Yes.
You wrote all this out in your book?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Did you quote this psychic just the way the mother has the
Yes.
Do you still have the tape?
Yes.
Wow, that'd have been so cool if you'd brought the tape in so we could play
We'll do another time.
Another time. Maybe after your book comes out?
Maybe after my book comes out, yes.
Wow.
So after this happened, this psychic tells her this. She's back in Minnesota. It wasn't, I don't remember what the timing was, but it wasn't long after that, and I was in the living room watching TV, and the TV show Entertainment Tonight was on at that time with John Tesh and Mary Hart, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden they were talking about Michael touring in Italy, and they had mentioned that they had referred to Michael as a Renaissance man. And I called my mom into the room. I said, "Watch this." And we both sat there stunned, because basically they were just saying what she had just heard from this psychic.
This was what year?
This was in 1988.
Wow. And you weren't living here in the valley yet?
No. We were in a small town of 900 people called Richmond, Minnesota.
I've been there.
No, you haven't.
I have.
Really?
Yes. I went looking for a cousin up there, and I got lost and ended up in Richmond because a cousin lived south of Richmond, and I was in the wrong place.
Really?
Anyway, so what made the jump from Minnesota to here?
Well, as a kid, I always had a strong feeling about California. I would dream about Disneyland or Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse was one of my favorite characters, and I don't know what it was. I came out to California with my Aunt Diane when I was 16, and we just did a weekend in Los Angeles, went to Disneyland, and I just knew I needed to be here. It was just, California's my place.
And you were how old at that point?
16.
16?